Hello, YouTube divers. This is Water Dive 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Coda of Soda. So today we are kind of bringing back an old face here today, specifically an older brand of soda that I have reviewed previously on this channel. But this one has a rather interesting background. Today we are going to be talking about Sioux City Root Beer. I'm pretty sure that brand name sort of rings a bell to you, doesn't it? A while back, I believe it was episode 6, I reviewed my first root beer-esque soda, and that was Sioux City Sarsaparilla Root Beer. Well, something along the lines of that. But I actually did a little bit of research between root beer and sarsaparilla, and basically, ingredients-wise, and really just overall, they're pretty much the same drink. Root beer and sarsaparilla have a lot of similarities, and really the only major difference is the labels. Like, it's very, very, very interesting. And really, it also depends on where you buy these types of sodas. Like, for instance, if you're from the U.S. or from the United Kingdom, you'll often see root beers on your supermarket shelves. Whereas if you live in Australia or in New Zealand, for example, you'll most likely see sarsaparilla products. And for a long time, sarsaparilla and sassafras roots were actually used in the United States for commercial food production for a while, but they were both prohibited in 1960 by the Food and Drug Administration due to health concerns from both the sarsaparilla vine and the sassafras root. So they were no longer in root beers sold after that point, I believe. Anyways, getting back to the review, this is a very fantastic root beer. Sioux City Root Beer is absolutely fantastic. I'd say this is up there with some of the best root beers I've reviewed, like Summits, Hanks, A&W, etc. Bull and Bush. You get the gist. Eventually, I will do a ranking of every single frackin' root beer that I have reviewed on this channel so far. And let me tell you, it's gonna be a pain because all of the root beers have been at the very worst above average. Like, I have not had a single bad root beer on this channel so far. Yeah. I have that in the books, and you might see it on another episode of Coda of Soda, so stay in tune for that. Now, the main reason why I like Sioux City Root Beer so much is because of its flavor. Like I said, if you know me, I have a huge sweet tooth. I love me some sweet flavor in my sodas. It's a really good time. And this really has a very good flavor to it. It's a very smooth flavor. It really tastes a lot like frickin' Bull and Bush. It's very smooth. It's very creamy. It's just a very pleasant taste. The fizziness is also good. It's a little bit hard, and another major difference between root beer and sarsaparilla that I have at least noticed. Sarsaparilla has a more thicker fizziness, whereas root beers tend to have more stronger and more harder, more sharper, crispier level of fizziness. Like, almost to a cola level of fizziness. Not necessarily not a bad thing at all, but, you know, when you want a root beer, you want it to be nice and soft. But I'm willing to give this as a pass here because, let's face it, most of the root beers have a very crisp level of fizziness for me. But hey, I don't see anything wrong with that. And then the aftertaste. The aftertaste is pretty good. It's more of a fizzier aftertaste. It's more like a liquidy aftertaste, if that makes sense. Not really flavorful, but just very liquidy as it goes down your throat. Yeah, it's really good stuff. This is a great root beer, up there with some of the best in my opinion. And honestly, whether or not that I'm repeating myself from the time I reviewed Sioux City Sarsaparilla, or if I'm just talking about this just for the sake of it, this is a fantastic drink nonetheless. And I'm glad that I brought it back if I reviewed it before, or in this case, if I reviewing it for the first time. I'm glad I got the chance to review it because this is fantastic. Now, with all that out of the way, let's do the taste test. So, cheers. Very, very good stuff. Alright, so with that said, that concludes this edition of Coda of Soda. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122 signing out, ready to dive and more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.